guide from AIM Awards will help you to understand how a unit grade is arrived at on an Access to HE diploma. Let's look at an example to help us understand. Here we have a unit on the Access to HE diploma. In this instance, it is for a Humanities diploma, and the unit is Appreciation of a Shakespeare Play. This is a 6-credit unit with 5 learning outcomes, and the grade descriptors applied are 1, 2, 5 and 7. This unit has been broken up into 4 different assessments. It's been broken up into one assessment titled Online Discussion and Written Description, a second where the student will submit some notes, the third where a time-constrained essay will take place, and the fourth an article. Now it's up to the provider or the centre to decide, using their autonomy and professional judgment, what kind of assessments, how many assessments will be included in units. So don't worry if this particular unit isn't included in your Humanities diploma. Let's use this as an example to understand, however, how the grading is arrived at for an overall unit. So each assessment needs to meet the assessment criteria before it can go on to be graded. In this instance, the student has met the assessment criteria for the online discussion and written description, and the grade descriptors that have been applied are noted here. The student in this instance has completed the unit. The overall unit has been finished and all work has been submitted. But these grade descriptors and assessment criteria will have been detailed clearly on an assessment plan or an assessment brief that will have been given to the student prior to them submitting it. So they know what these grade descriptors are and what the assessment criteria are that they need to meet. The grade descriptor here, 1B for example, refers to the work being informed by major conventions of practices in the area of study. That is all outlined for you as a student on your assessment brief, so you'll know what these numbers and grades mean as you move further on in your HE diploma. This piece of work could be drafted, and there's a submission deadline here for that, and a final submission deadline for the work. In this instance, the student has received a pass for grade descriptor 1, a merit for grade descriptor 2, and a merit for grade descriptor 7. For the assessment, the student will receive 3 grades, a P, an M, and an M. On the Access to HE diploma, you don't receive an overall grade for an assessment. You receive an overall grade for a unit. So here we have 4 different assessments, and they'll all be put together to create one final unit grade. But for each assessment, you will receive these different individual grades, allowing you to see how well you've achieved in the separate areas of learning and skills that are reflected in the grade descriptors, and also allowing you to build up a profile to create your final unit grade at the end. And you can also learn more about what to work on because you'll receive feedback for each of these individual grade descriptors. Here on the second assessment, the student has achieved a pass, and a pass. Assessment 3, a pass, a merit, a pass and a pass. And for our assessment 4 here, a distinction, a pass and a merit. Now, to arrive at the overall unit grade, what will happen is that your tutor will line up all of the grades that were received for this unit following the guidance set out by the QAA, Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education, on how to assess and mark Access to HE diplomas. So all of the P's will be rowed up, as will the M's and the D's in order like this, and it is the midpoint that is awarded as the overall unit grade. In this instance, there is a clear midpoint. You can count that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 P's to the side of this midpoint, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other grades to the right of it, making this a really clear midpoint right down the middle of the unit and showing us that the unit grade for this unit will be a P. Now, let's look at a unit where there is not a clear midpoint. Here we have a Health Professions diploma with the unit Biodiversity, again 6 credits, 5 learning outcomes, and applied with grade descriptors 1, 2, 4, 5 and 7. This time we have 2 assessments. The student has met the assessment criteria for the written description, and the work has been graded at a merit and a distinction and a distinction. And the second assessment has achieved, with more grade descriptors applied here and more assessment criteria to be met, the student has had a merit, a merit, a merit and 2 distinctions, so the student's done very well in this assessment. Here, there are an even number of grade descriptors applied, so there won't be a clear midpoint in the same way that there was in our other unit. And if you look here, you can see that there is an M, an M and an M, a D and a D, leaving us with an M and a D here right in the middle, and making it very unclear which would be the midpoint. Now, when this happens, it's up to the tutor and their professional judgment to decide whether the overall unit will be an M or a D, because the clear midpoint falls in between the M and the D. So some tutors will think carefully about their professional judgment and how they're going to do this using grade descriptor 7, as QAA guidance says that the tutor can use grade descriptor 7, is a method of balancing and thinking through how the student has performed overall in the unit. And in this instance, grade descriptor 7, looking at overall quality, there is a distinction for both. So that can be a way of thinking about the unit that the tutor might undertake to arrive at the final decision. But they will use their overall professional judgment thinking about how well the student has done in these assessments, how well they've met the learning outcomes, and they will come to a decision about whether it will be an M or a D for the unit. In this instance, the tutor has used their professional judgment to come to the decision that the student should be awarded a D for this unit. If you have any further questions about how grades are arrived at for units, or how that might look if there's only one assessment in a unit or anything else, please do take a look at the guidance in the AIM Awards, A Student's Guide to Grading.